Hello and welcome to episode 80 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. On today's show, Sarah Says will be returning to continue our conversation on starting the planning process for a Disney vacation. We began the talk in episode 79 last week, but there's still plenty we need to discuss. Unfortunately, it's gotten very complicated to go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Gone are the days of reading the guidebook on the car ride down to Florida. Things need to be scheduled months and months in advance in many cases. This episode is hitting the internet on August 11th, 2022, which means tomorrow night is the first night of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. This will be the first time Mickey's Not So Scary has taken place in Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World since 2019. The pandemic canceled the special ticketed event in 2020, and there was a modified after-hours event last year called Boo Bash. Guests will be treated to the returns of the Boo to You Parade, Hocus Pocus Spelltacular Show, the Cadaver Dance in Frontierland, and Disney's Not So Spooky Spectacular Fireworks and Projection Show. Attractions like Space Mountain, Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor will have special Halloween overlays. There are special character meet and greets, the Disney Junior Jam, and trick-or-treating stations. This event also allows adults to take advantage of some more lax rules when it comes to costumes, but it's still very important to check the items that are strictly forbidden before planning your Instagrammable outfit. I'll be attending Not So Scary on September 11th with my wife Courtney and my friend Jillian, who has been on the show a number of times in the past. I'll bring you plenty of information about the event in both videos on the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube page and in review form here on the podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Before we get started, just another reminder about the fundraiser for Casa of Pinellas County, Florida, and the fight against domestic violence. In June, I walked Ireland's National Famine Way to raise funds for Casa. Every Monday until I have shown you the completion of my pilgrimage, I'll have a new vlog from Ireland on the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel. It's very important to me that I keep getting the fundraising link out there. By the end of October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we want to have raised big numbers for Casa. Every dollar you donate goes directly to the organization so that they can help survivors of abuse. There are no processing fees or middlemen. Please donate $15 this week. We're just asking for $15 because we have been so blessed to have so many new listeners in the past few months. If 10% of you donate $15 this week, we will really make a difference in the lives of women and children who have been in very difficult situations. The link is casapinellas.org/walkwithrick/ that's CASAPINELLAS.org/walkwithrick/. Right now, it's time to welcome back Sarah Says to continue our discussion about starting the planning process for a Disney vacation. Thanks for being back, Sarah.
Thank you. I am very excited to be back and continue this conversation.
So everybody, after you're done listening to this, go back and listen to last week's episode where we started the process of planning a Walt Disney World vacation. We are going to continue that on this episode. We were talking about transportation when we left off last week, and we're going to pick up there again this week and talk about Magical Express, something that has unfortunately gone away at Walt Disney World. It used to be if you were staying on Walt Disney World property and flying into MCO, Orlando International Airport, you could get free transportation on a bus called Magical Express from the airport to your Walt Disney World resort and then back to the airport at the end of your vacation. Of course, we called that version Tragical Express.
I haven't heard that.
But unfortunately, now that has gone away, and you're going to have to find your transportation from Orlando International Airport and to Walt Disney World property. If you're staying on property, If not, you always had to find your transportation from the airport and to your hotel. So I'm going to make this one quick. I think for most families, the best option is going to be to use Mears and just call Mears and set it up right when you get your flights booked. It's not going to be as cheap as getting the free Magical Express, but it's probably going to be a decently affordable option, and they run fairly regularly as well. Anybody who's ever been on a flight to Walt Disney World from any part of the country knows that half of your flight is people going to Walt Disney World. Like,
Absolutely.
actually, a funny story is when we lived in Arizona and we were going to a vacation at Walt Disney World in 2018, we were on the highway going from Chandler to Sky Harbor Airport. And on the highway, we got passed by a Make-A-Wish bus. And I turned to Courtney and I said, I wonder if the Make-A-Wish bus is going to Sky Harbor as well, and they're going on the same flight to Orlando that we're going to be taking. And sure enough, the Make-A-Wish
Awesome.
bus was filled with kids who were going to Walt Disney World with Courtney and me. So that means that Mears is prepared for a bunch of people from your flight to need transportation to Walt Disney World. So there are plenty of options if you book that way. So at this point, you've made the decision how many park days you're going to have at Walt Disney World. You've decided whether you're going to do the park hopper or if you're going to do one park per day tickets. You've booked your Disney Park Pass reservations. You've decided whether you're staying on or off property, and now you have gotten to your resort from the airport. At this point, we have to decide, are you doing anything else besides Walt Disney World? Sarah, why don't you talk about some of the options if somebody wants to leave the Walt Disney World bubble and do things in the surrounding areas? What are some options available to them?
Yeah, so Orlando has a lot of things to do that aren't part of the Disney bubble. I know for a lot of us, our favorite, of course, is the Disney bubble. But you can, oh my gosh, there's so many. You can go to Legoland if you have kids in your party, because I know in California, you do have to have a child with you to go to Legoland. I don't know if Florida's exactly the same, but I've heard it is. So Legoland, there's SeaWorld for those of you that like the aquarium and rides all in one park. The beach. So that actually kind of ties to the transportation. If you're going to rent a car, you can go to the beach. I have a little girl who goes to school with my son, and they were in Disney World over spring break, and they went to Daytona Beach. She was so excited. It was awesome. And then, of course, my personal favorite that we went to last time is Universal Orlando Resort, because you have the City Walk and you have 2 parks. And there's a lot of cool hotels there too, if you have enough time to go and look at their really cool resort hotels and things like that. So you have plenty of options, as well as other smaller options throughout the entire city.
Another option that I'm just going to quickly throw out there that is associated with Legoland, and that is that there is a brand new Peppa Pig theme park that I know a lot of kids are really, really excited about that one. And they have made a lot of accommodations. I know this is important to Sarah because her son is autistic, that they have made a lot of accommodations there for autistic children. So that's something that you might want to take into consideration. If you have little ones, heading over to the Peppa Pig theme park is going to make their day. And compared to Disney, it's very, very, very affordable. But I think we are going to talk for a second about Universal Orlando Resort, because not only are there the 2 regular theme parks, Universal Studios Florida and Universal's Islands of Adventure, there is also Volcano Bay, which is a Disney water park on steroids. Like, it is a theme park size water park. Then, if you are planning into the future, if you're thinking about a few years from now, maybe this vacation isn't coming in the next year or 2, you have to remember that Universal is actively building their new theme park, Epic Universe. These are all things you're going to want to take into consideration when planning a Walt Disney World vacation. Do you have to see this brand new theme park that is supposed to be next level? It's going to have Super Nintendo Land. It is rumored to have lands based on How to Train Your Dragon and classic monsters. So many people are going to want to see that theme park. Is that going to be something that you have to do? Maybe take away a Walt Disney World park day. Maybe do a split stay where you start your vacation at Walt Disney World and then head over to Universal Orlando Resort. I know the executives at Universal are loving that I am just mentioning that, because that's the whole purpose of building Epic Universe. But these are things you have to take into consideration. Sarah mentioned beaches. If you do take a day, rent a car, and head to a beach, do you go to Daytona Beach, which has maybe more of those boardwalky style kitschy attractions? Do you go to Cocoa Beach, which is the closest beach to Walt Disney World property and is really close to the Kennedy Space Center as well, which is one of those great opportunities to have an excuse to pull your kid out of school? You can tell the teachers, well, we had to go to Kennedy Space Center. Come on. Or do you head the other way and go Gulf side, and you have Clearwater Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, you have Tampa and St. Petersburg, some of those options, the Dali Museum in St. Petersburg. That's something you might want to see. There are definitely a lot of things to do off property, and you're going to want to set aside an entire day to do these things. Don't think that you're going to be like, okay, we'll get a park-to-park pass at Universal, and we'll see Diagon Alley at Universal Studios Florida, and then we'll take the Hogwarts Express over to Islands of Adventure and see Hogsmeade, and then we'll ride Velocicoaster, and then we'll do Spider-Man, and then we'll leave Universal and we'll go over to the Peppa Pig theme. No, you're not going to be able to do that. All of these things are going to be full days. So just make sure you're budgeting your time. Sarah, how important is it for you to have at least one day at Universal when you're doing a Disney vacation?
Oh, after the last time we went, I will always plan a day. And actually, talking about Universal and whatnot and talking about days, is that my family has talked about the next time we go, we're probably going to spend 2 days at Universal. We're a very Harry Potter family. We love Harry Potter. Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade were like, Hogsmeade had just opened when we went. And so it was like my life goal because it was for my birthday and everything. We are going. And we literally spent the entire park day minus like 2 rides and a giant rainstorm in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and just spending all our time there looking at the details and experiences and eating and hanging out. And while my sister went off and she rode like all the rides in both parks, the rest of us hung out. So to me, it's super important now that I've gotten to do that, that for our family, which your family may be a different park, that we book out at least one day to get to spend out of the Disney bubble. And when we did it at the end of our vacation. So we literally did all our Disney time. The last day we reserved for Universal. And then the day that we flew out, we went back to Epcot in the morning, had lunch, and then we left. I know we're all very Disney and we love Disney so much, but it is kind of fun to get out of the Disney bubble and see what else is there. When we take my son, we'll probably aim for like Legoland. We'll probably take a couple more days, or we'll do less days at Disney and spend more time kind of experiencing the other things that if he hasn't aged out, of Legos, which I don't know if anybody ages out of Legos. We'll spend time there, and definitely at Universal. And also another thing that's kind of cool, going back to transportation, talking about Universal, use your concierge at your hotel, because we got a really inexpensive transportation option from our Disney hotel to Universal and back. I feel it is definitely worth it to schedule that extra time to get to experience things outside of Disney.
So now everybody's favorite part about these vacations, yeah, there are rides, and rides are fun, I guess. I mean, sure. And there are other attractions like shows, and that's great. Okay. But we're here to talk about the food. Now, You really have to spend a lot of time planning what you're going to do for meals on a Walt Disney World vacation. It used to be you had to plan your dining reservations almost 6 months in advance. Now it's only 2 months in advance. It is 60 days. Now, let me break down what that means. If you are staying on Walt Disney World property 60 days from when you check into your Walt Disney World resort, you can make dining reservations for your entire trip. So maybe that hard to get dining reservation, you have a little bit of an advantage, because if you have a 7-day trip and you're trying to plan Space 220 at Epcot, you can make that the last day of your trip, and you have a 7-day advantage over people who are staying off property. So just keep that in mind. If you are staying off property, the really, really hard to get restaurants are going to be really, really hard to get a dining reservation. It's unfortunate, but it is one of the perks that goes to people who stay on property. When your family goes, Sarah, do you do a lot of sit-down restaurants? Do you do Be Our Guest, Space 220, Le Cellier, Cinderella's Royal Table? Some of these hard-to-get reservations, are they important for you?
I've been very fortunate in the past that they've always done the free dining plan when we've gone. We've always booked when they do the free dining plan. So it has always been a lot easier for us to decide what we want to do and what we don't want to do, because we know we're not going to be forking out the money. But you also are having to figure out how many credits you want to use. So places like Le Cellier, Cinderella's Royal Table, you'd have to use twice as many credits as you normally would. So we always try to do one sit-down restaurant a day, and usually it's lunch or dinner. And we always do dinner early, like 4 o'clock, because then you're beating the dinner rush. And it seemed to be at the time, which now I've heard it's much different, you could find a reservation in those weird off hours easier than you could find one at the heart of dinner time or the heart of lunchtime. We've never done Cinderella's Royal Table. We've never done Le Cellier. We've never done a lot of the fancy ones. But when we last went, my sister is a huge Beauty and the Beast fan. Absolutely loves it. And her one thing that she wanted to do more than anything was Be Our Guest. And it was, at the time, you basically had to be invited to get a reservation at Be Our Guest. I was stressing 6 months out, like, we have to get this and surprise her for her birthday, because we're 2 days apart. 4 years, 2 days. And this is the only thing she wanted in the whole vacation. And so we ended up having a travel agent who, I don't know what she did and what string she pulled, but one day I got the email that was like, you've been invited to eat lunch at Be Our Guest. So that, I think, has been the absolute hardest reservation we've ever had to go for. Otherwise, our family's pretty happy with, quick service. I think Disney World has a lot of good quick service options. Being a family that goes to Disneyland more often, where there aren't as many sit down places, there's a lot less food to choose from. I mean, more now than before, but we found a lot of great quick service options for when you don't get those really desired sit down nice dinners. We did find, with my first trip as an adult, that you had to make dinner reservations. We had no idea, so we didn't make any. But we would go the last 2 times we've been and work with the concierge as well and talk to them like, hey, can you help us? I don't know if you can still do that, to be completely honest, but they were able to find us a few things here and there. I definitely want to try for Space 220. I've had so many friends who have gone. It seems like, with how hard it apparently is to get a reservation there, I feel like everyone I know has gone there that's been to Disney World recently. So I'm, crossing my fingers and hoping we can get that. But otherwise, we're happy with quick service.
I really think a mistake a lot of people make is to try to plan out too many table service restaurants. If you have kids, you're probably going to want to do 1 or 2 character dining experiences. Maybe even if you don't have kids, you're going to want to do a character dining experience. The signature dining restaurants are so expensive that you may have eyes bigger than your stomach when you're looking at planning some of these. And after you're done, you're like, boy, we wasted a lot of money on food. I'm just going to throw out some that I think are definitely worth it when it comes to signature dining restaurants that people don't necessarily go to first thing. It's not their first thought to book these. Tiffin's at Disney's Animal Kingdom is great. The theming is great. The food is just off the charts good. The service is incredible. Tiffin's at Disney's Animal Kingdom is air conditioned in one of the hottest parks in the history of the world. Try to get that dining reservation if possible. I also think that Hollywood Brown Derby at Disney's Hollywood Studios is an underrated reservation to try to acquire. Hollywood and Vine is the character dining experience, and while the food has gotten better there, it's not necessarily worth the price unless you're including that character interaction. Sci-Fi Dine-In is a very hard reservation to get at Hollywood Studios, so a lot of people are trying for that. There's a lot of good quick service at Hollywood Studios, so sometimes it's easier to get that Hollywood Brown Derby reservation than some other signature dining reservations. Yes, everybody gravitates to Space 220 because that's the shiny new thing. People really love to eat inside the castle at Cinderella's Royal Table. Be Our Guest, I think I'm going to say, is overrated for the ambiance and the food. Just compared to the price, it is a great experience, and my wife Courtney, we just took her for her birthday. Like you said, you had to take your sister for her birthday because Beauty and the Beast is such a big part of her life. If that's the case, obviously try to do it. I'm just trying to throw out some of those sit-down restaurants that maybe are a little underappreciated. I'm going to do one more and then turn it over to Sarah here. Garden Grill at Epcot. A lot of people don't think about this one, but that is character dining. It's all you care to enjoy, and it's food that your kids will like. It's regular comfort food, mac and cheese, some of those type of items, and you get to meet Mickey, Pluto, Chip, and Dale. That is a really good dining option that a lot of people don't realize is that good. So, Sarah, I know you wanted to add something here.
Yeah, so I just thought about this. That is a tip that I give to everyone, I feel like, when we talk about food, is we talk a lot about lunch and dinner. But breakfast is a big deal as well. You need breakfast if you are going to be doing like 14 to 20 miles a day walking parks, right? So one thing that my family has found is we'll schedule maybe like one sit down breakfast, but the rest of the time at your hotel, we actually order in Amazon, or we order in a food delivery thing where we can get granola bars and cereal and breakfast. So that's a way, because we're talking about, planning to save some money, is if you're not worried about every day you're there having to have like a character breakfast, or you just want to be ready to go when you get to the park to go and do your fun stuff, eat in your hotel room. I'm assuming that some of the Good Neighbor hotels or the off-site hotels may have like a continental breakfast or things like that. But instead of spending a lot of money on breakfast and taking some time away potentially from your every park day, we have found as a family that and also it gave us the option to pack snacks. So you're not having to stop and buy snacks constantly as well. If you're in a line for an hour or two, you have granola bars, you have Nutri-Grain bars, you have all these different things. So that's just another tip that I wanted to slide in there, is that I like to save spending more of my money on lunch and dinner versus spending it all on breakfast and just taking care of it elsewhere.
I usually like to do one big breakfast on a vacation. I know when we went in 2018 before we lived here, we did Crystal Palace, which was at the time a character breakfast that was all you care to enjoy with the Winnie the Pooh characters. Since I've moved here, we've done breakfasts at Boma. We did one at a Disney Springs resort hotel that is not technically a Walt Disney World hotel. Getting that big all-you-care-to-enjoy breakfast every once in a while can be good, especially if you have a late dinner somewhere. Like maybe you were only able to get Be Our Guest at 8 o'clock at night, so you have a huge breakfast. And then you know that for the rest of the day, you can probably make it through the theme parks until you go to Be Our Guest at night. The other thing I'm going to say, and this is for me because I drink a lot of soda, but it could also be if you drink a lot of water. buy that somewhere. Go to a grocery store. Go to a Publix here in the Florida area. Order from Amazon some soda to be delivered to your hotel. Every one you drink, you're saving like $3 at least off of what you would be paying in the parks. And you just load up your park bag with waters, with sodas. Maybe, I don't know what kind of monster you are in real life, but maybe you like Pepsi instead of Coke. You can bring Pepsi. I wouldn't recommend that. That seems gross to me.
Oh my gosh.
But it is a way to save some money. And like Sarah said, you can bring some of those snacks. We brought protein bars when we went. They don't sell protein bars in the snack shops at Walt Disney World. Everything's just sugar. It's all cupcakes and Rice Krispie treats and things like that. Sometimes you want something a little more substantial, so make sure you have a couple of them in your park bag.
Yeah, when we were in Disneyland, I packed a water bottle to carry around with me because they had water bottle filling stations that I researched before we went. Instead of buying, like spending that much money on a bottle of water, I just had my own water bottle that I carried around and kept in my backpack and just filled it up as needed. And you can get ice from when you sit down for lunch, or you go buy a quick service or something, you can get ice from them and just fill it up as you go, and it saves you a lot.
And sometimes when we've been on vacation, we've gotten those individual Brita filter bottles because the water in Florida is a little funky. So if you want to go to one of those water fountains and fill up your Brita filter and then put the top on, every time you drink from it, it will filter out some of that funky Florida from your water. We really, really have to cover one topic before we end this conversation, and that is the 300-pound genie in the room, and that is Genie Plus and Lightning Lane, and this is so confusing for a lot of people. I've heard it described that Genie Plus and Lightning Lane are easy to use and impossible to explain. So there have been a lot of problems with Genie Plus. We're just going to be honest. It costs about $15 per person per day to add this to your park day. You do not have to do it every day that you are in the parks. As a matter of fact, they just changed it where starting June 8th, now you can't even book Genie Plus until the day you are visiting the theme parks. So this is essentially a paid Fast Pass system where once every 2 hours you can book another quote-unquote Lightning Lane to skip the line and ride one of the affiliated Genie Plus Lightning Lane attractions. So let's say you're sitting down with Genie Plus, you're about to book your first Lightning Lane of the day. You get Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at 11 o'clock in the morning, but you rope drop Magic Kingdom. You can hit some of the other rides in the area. You can rope drop Splash Mountain, which usually has a long line, and then you head over to Pirates. And then it's about time for you to head over to Big Thunder for your Lightning Lane. And possibly, if the park opened at 9, depending on when you made that Big Thunder Mountain Railroad Lightning Lane, it might be time to make another one. Maybe you get Haunted Mansion at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you keep going like that throughout the course of the day. Now, because Disney likes to make things as complicated as humanly possible, there are also individual Lightning Lanes, rides that you have to pay a fee to use that Fast Pass. These rides include Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, which Lightning Lanes for that ride go very, very quick. You might not even have the option to pay for a Fast Pass for that ride. The brand new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which is an incredible ride, by the way. Everybody has to go ride this ride. It is awesome. That is another individual Lightning Lane, and the prices for these can vary depending on how many people are in the park that day. And one last thing, and then Sarah's going to help me clarify all of this because I know it sounds like a bunch of jumbled nonsense right now. But one last thing I have to stress is you can buy an individual lightning lane for like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind without having to buy Genie Plus for the day. So I just wanted to make all of those things clear, and I know by trying to explain them, I probably confused you more. But what I said, did that make sense, Sarah?
As much as it could. I mean, I am right there with you and with everyone else. I'm like trying to read it. It's like when I worked for Apple and they released iCloud. I'm like, I don't know how to explain this to people. It's magical. I don't know. But I mean, what I get from it is Genie Plus. You pay a flat fee, and then you can make a fast pass like reservation every 2 hours. Lightning Lane, you pay per fast pass, and the prices vary depending on what ride you want to go on. Is that right? That's how I see it.
You did a pretty good job, Sarah. I think you might have made it a little simpler for the people listening, but you also missed a little bit of nuance. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood what was happening here. And it is very, very confusing. I am not somebody who recommends Genie Plus. I don't use it at the parks. I still have never used it. I will use it at some point when I get back from Ireland just to talk about it and tell everybody about my experiences. But I know Marissa from Chicago, who is one of the co-hosts of the show, she's used it a few times and has never had a good experience with it. Now, that doesn't mean people don't have good experiences with it. It's just what Marissa experienced, and she is a pro. So if it wasn't easy for her to navigate, it might not be easy for you to navigate.
I've heard the same thing from other people as well. And I really, as you've probably heard, if you are a regular listener to the show, I had really high hopes for Genie Plus and Lightning Lane because of the situation my family is in. And I'm interested to see because it's already starting to evolve and how it will evolve by the time we bring our son. But I've heard so many people like Rick who've gone and didn't use it at all and were fine. And we're like, we just waited. Sometimes it said it was a 2-hour wait and we got in 30 minutes, and then I've heard people who get it and say it took us longer in our Lightning Lane Genie Plus thing than it took us, the people who were waiting in standby. So, I've heard a lot of different stories, a lot of different experiences. And, I think it's just, if you choose to do it, it's your choice and you get to make that choice for yourself. And if you like it one day and you see it works really great. And you want to do it the rest of the days. But, if you do it once, that's the great part. You don't have to buy it every day.
And that's one of the best things about Disney going to this system where you have to buy it that morning is if you didn't like it the day before, you don't have to buy it the next day. And then the fewer people who buy it, the better it works for the people who do spend the money on it. So hopefully all of those things are going to even out and it's going to get better and better as the system progresses. Or if it continues to be bad, maybe they get rid of it. I don't know. Hopefully, who knows? Anyway, Sarah, as I figured, this conversation not only lasted 2 episodes, but 2 rather long episodes. So I really, really thank you for being on the show again. You're the best.
No, thank you. I love being here.
All right, everyone, please take a few minutes today to donate $15 to Casa of Pinellas County in the fight against domestic violence. This community we have built is really making a difference in the lives of people who have suffered a great deal. CasaPinellas.org/walkwithrick/ That's CasaPinellas.org/walkwithrick/. Next week in episode 81 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty, Marissa from Chicago will be back to look over some of the new information out there about Epic Universe. If you aren't familiar with Epic Universe, it's a brand new theme park being built at Universal Orlando Resort right now. People are expecting lands based on Super Nintendo, Universal Classic Monsters, How to Train Your Dragon, and something related to the Harry Potter franchise. This theme park is going to raise the bar for every theme park entity in the Orlando area. Yes, even Walt Disney World. That conversation will take place next Thursday. Until then, have a great week.